Ran here with JC Fabworks. We're going to give you a little tour of our 2008 Mitsubishi Evo 10. It is a Pikes Peak specific built car that we kind of use. We like to go out to time attack events to break the car in and make sure our designs are working. And so yeah, we'll kind of give you a run through, show you what we got. I guess everybody has questioned us why we chose the V-mount. We want our cooling system to work as best as it possibly can, because when running up Pikes Peak, it may work really well for you at the bottom of the hill. About halfway up, you'll notice a struggle, and at the top of the hill, you really notice that the car's cooling capabilities are just, they're simply not there anymore. One thing that I feel helps us out substantially is the fact that our intercooler does not block our radiator. Our radiator has a very nice clean path to air, so that really keeps the car cool. As far as cooling temps, last year we never saw, all of our test days, we never saw the car break 185 degrees Fahrenheit. So the cooling system on this thing is phenomenal. It works wonderful, as well as our air intake temps. I think we saw air intake temps. They probably peaked out about 85-90 degrees, so it does work really well for us. So up front here we've got both of our oil coolers. One of them runs off of the main feed, so the car is constantly being cooled for oil. The other one is set up on the thermostat setup. We don't want to run the car too cool on oil temperatures. We've done that before, and realistically you want to keep the oil temp about 210, especially when running ethanol, so you can burn off all of the water vapor that's getting sucked out through the dry sump system. And we see our catch can shows us that we're really sucking out a lot of water vapor. That's working well for us as well. Down below, we are going to add a power steering cooler, and then again up front we have a transmission cooler that's going to be just like the rear differential. Will be controlled by the ECU based on temperature. It'll have it on and off. We'll set that in the ECU. Driver can essentially drive the car and not have to worry about overheating the transmission or the rear differential. Just keeping the car cool, all aspects of the car, from the gearing all the way to the engine, is just a huge battle for us, and it's something that I think we've overcome this year, so we're really happy with that. We like to support Vibrant Performance. They make a really great product. In the past, we've had a lot of trouble blowing couplers, pushing holes in the couplers, them simply ripping, blowing up from the high boost, the high heat. So we've switched over to the Vangens, and we've had nothing but great success with them, no boost leaks. So again, it's just a product that works really well for us, and we're going to stick with it. Turbo Smart has always been our choice for blow-off valves and wastegates. The thing I love about Turbo Smart is the size and the compact of everything. They work well. We've never had any issues burning up diaphragms, and even on this car, when we had the wastegate in the least ideal position, the diaphragms would still hold up to the abuse. So that's one thing that we've really liked about Turbo Smart. The turbocharger on the car is a Garrett. It's a 3584 RS. It's got a T3 V-band inlet on it, 3-inch downpipe. In the past, we ran the 3584 RS with a divided T4 housing, and the car kind of did some really weird stuff. It made great power, it made great boost, but once we started seeing the higher RPMs and the higher boost levels, the car was tapering off, it was falling off, like it didn't have much left in it, and we couldn't figure out why, because that was only about 600 wheel horsepower. So we did a little research, and we found out the turbine housing was essentially restricting us. I built a new turbo manifold, swapped it over to the T3 V-band inlet, and we made 90 wheel horsepower more, and the car just it's so much happier up top. So that's one of the big improvements that we've made for this year as well. If you look up here, this is all of our Inconel wrap. All of it is removable. Again, turbosource.com is who did it all. A beautiful job, fantastic work. We've also added on the firewall, we've added some embossed aluminum. We imported this from France. Our friends at Fajoli Motorsports, or Fajoli Racing rather, sent that over to us. You can get this stuff here in the United States, but this is probably the best stuff that you can get as far as heat shielding that I've seen. So we're gonna roll with that. Yeah, let me show you another feature as well. Previously, our dry sump tank was a 3.5 gallon tank that sat here. I didn't really like it. It kind of blocked all of our ducting, and it put a lot of weight in a really weird position of the car. So to balance the car out, to make the car a little bit better balanced as far as cornering, handling, turning, we took that big 35, 40-pound block and we have now mounted the dry sump tank underneath the dash here. As you can see, it's going to have its own compartment sealed off from the driver. So the car will be essentially a lot more balanced. So previously our water sprayer system for the car, which I'll run over that as well, the water sprayer system tank used to sit here. We have relocated the water sprayer system tank to right here, much smaller. So again, we kind of balanced everything out. We set our ACD pump here behind the driver's seat or behind the passenger seat as well. And again, we're trying to put all of these components that weigh 10 or 15 pounds here or there right here, and our corner scale or our corner balancing shows us that we're in the right track with that. So let's step back up front here real quick and I'll talk about the water spray system. The way we run our water sprayer system, we run it off the throttle position sensor. Anytime the driver hits 75% throttle position sensor or more, wakes up the pump, tells the pump start spraying. Up front here, we've got water sprayer nozzles that we're going to be attaching. So we'll have one each on the oil coolers, and then we spray one each to the radiator, and then we put one right in the middle that just it sprays our intercooler. And what we're looking for at that point is we're no longer relying on air to cool the car. Now it's a chemical process, and our cooling is going to be 5 to 10 times more efficient up top than what you would normally see. We didn't really see any spike of coolant temperatures up top, so we know it's doing its job, everything's happy, and we're going to roll into 2019 with that same cooling system. As far as data on the car, we want to know as much as possible. We want to know what's going on with the motor. So we've got an exhaust back pressure sensor here. We've got our map sensor here. We've got a positive crankcase pressure sensor, so we see what's going on inside the motor at all times. We've got our oil pressure sensor. We've got our baro sensor, which we'll use that Pikes Peak, and we'll have our tuner actually set that up to keep the motor happy. We've got our fuel pressure right here, so we always know, the ECU always knows what's going on as far as fuel pressure. And one of the last most important sensors that we actually have up here, in my opinion, is the shaft speed sensor. That tells us how fast we're spinning our turbine housing. I'm at the bottom of the hill. To make 25 pounds of boost on this particular setup, we typically see about 120,000 RPM in the shaft. By the time we get up to the top at 22, 23 pounds of boost, we are now seeing about 160,000 RPMs. So it does, everybody likes to say it doesn't make a difference. You have a turbocharger, just run it up the hill. Well, your turbocharger is not going to be very happy with you. If you take a very small turbocharger, say just even a 3076 on this car, and you try to run it up Pikes Peak at the bottom of the hill, your shaft speed is still going to be a little crazy. It's a small turbo. You're probably going to see about 140,000. But with that turbocharger, to make the same shaft speed at the top, you're probably going to see in the area of 165 to 180,000 RPM, which is very, very fast. You're going to overspin the turbocharger, and you're going to chance blowing the turbocharger up, and you can either damage just the turbocharger, or there's a good chance you could take out the motor with it. So we really try to keep the shaft speed down. We want to know exactly what's going on really with everything in the car. So as far as our rear differential in the past, we've had a little bit of trouble with overheating them and essentially kind of burning them up. So what we've done is we've modified the OEM rear case, and we've added a -10 pickup and a -10 return. The pump sets here. We are going to essentially mount the cooler kind of right up here, and we will add some ducting from the flat bottom to that. Once we get there, we will end up pulling the differential off at some point, and we're going to actually add a temperature sensor so that the ECU can control the pump based on temperature. So when it hits 200 degrees, we will have the pump kick on. When it drops down below 200 degrees, pump kicks off, and differential stays happy, and investment is protected. Another thing we've added this year, we played with it a little last year, was ducting from underneath the car. These NACA ducts right here are what actually pull air and send air to the center of our rotors, and it worked really well for us last year, so we're going to stay with that this year. But again, we just added the NACA ducts to make it look a little better, and yeah, it works well, and we're happy with it. The main things we've done this year for keeping the car cool underneath is we've added this Inconel wrap from turbosource.com, and it's going to essentially cut down our temperatures underneath this cabin here, because as you can see, we've got this frame, and this is what our flat bottom actually bolts to. So once this is sealed off, we have very little airflow through here, and we were seeing temperatures, the transmission tunnel itself inside, we were seeing temperatures of 215, 225 degrees. So we needed to address that for sure this year. So that's definitely one of the big things that we've done. And if you follow this downpipe on up, you can see that when it runs into the downpipe, again, it's all Inconel wrapped. That's going to be huge for us this year. And now we're going to move up to the front. Another big thing with the car is the dry sump setup that we run. Magnus Motorsports is the company that actually makes the dry sump setup for us, and they make pretty much a bolt-on dry sump setup. You got to make the lines, of course, but if you're to the point of using a dry sump setup, you know how to make lines. So they did the front and rear subframes as well. So we do run Magnus front and rear subframes. I guess another big thing I'll touch while we're underneath the car and I'm looking at it is the differentials. The transfer case, we went to a 1.5 way LSD from Cusco, and we've also paired that with a LSD in the rear from Cusco as well. We got those installed probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, and we're getting really close to buttoning the car up. Another thing is our sequential transmission from X-Shift. X-Shift sent us over the sequential for the Evo 10. They sent it with OEM case, basically ready to bolt up and put in the car, which saves us a lot of time, a lot of headache of having to actually set the transmission up ourselves. We have these amazing brakes from RPS Carbon. They shave about 14 pounds per corner on just the rotors themselves. This side I've kind of taken the caliper off so you can see how we've added the ducting. Our calipers have to be mounted to the front. We're not lucky like the Subaru guys where they put the caliper on the back and then you've got all this room for ducting. So what I've done is I've taken that side apart, and then this side is essentially an assembled side. So you can see we've got our ducting here. It holds the ducting in place. We can get full wheel lock left or right. It pushes the air to the center of the rotor, and it's going to really help us out for cooling on the car. Suspension travel sensors we have added this year. As you can see here, there's a little less going on this side. Every corner has a suspension travel sensor. We will be able to log all of our suspension travel. That's going to help us out with dialing in our suspension, as well as let us know how well our aero is working. Another big change that we've done for the year is we've gone with a Geartronics paddle shift kit to complement the X-Shift sequential transmission. Our driver will no longer have to reach down, hit a lever. He doesn't have to use a clutch. He doesn't have to shift gears at all. Now he can keep his hands planted on the wheel, and he bangs gears up, he bangs gears down, and essentially makes the car and the driver faster. So down here we've built a custom bracket that actually holds our solenoid to bump the lever either up or down and shift gears for us. Right here, we just got to wire these. We've still got to wire these in, but the new ECU is coming rather quickly. So these are the gears, these are the shifters. So now the driver sits and shifts. Left foot brake, right foot gas, and the car is going to go substantially faster. Fuel system. We did add a couple things with the fuel system. Josh Davis with Fuel Lab. We met him out at Speedring last year, and he had a few issues with our fuel system. He stepped right in, took care of us out there. So now basically what we're rocking is we've got lift pumps in the tank that came from Fuel Lab. Fuel Lab sponsored. We've got our Fuel Lab filter here that fuels everything prior to the surge tank, goes through the surge tank, does all its good stuff, goes up to the front. And fuel pump that we're running this year is actually going to be a mechanical fuel pump. Again, Magnus Motorsports, great guys, we love them, really knowledgeable, willing to help out, always there to help you out, always there to get you parts, always there to keep you on the track. So stick with companies like that, stick with the people that race, stick with the people that do this for a living. It's going to make your life a lot easier if you're a racer or a customer. So, and again, here's our paddle shift stuff, our compressor, our tank, all that stuff we mounted back here so the driver doesn't have to actually hear the tank buzzing while it's going and the car's running. And that's basically those are the big changes for this car for the year. So we're really excited to get the car back out on the track. ETA of the car, we're probably looking around middle of March. We've got to put a new ECU in it. The one main last thing that we're waiting for is a wiring harness, so we're actually going to get to cracking on that really quickly, get the car running, get it back on the track, and have some fun.